Begin paragraph text. Sexual violence is linked to systems of oppression that directly or indirectly encourage the continuation of sexual harm. Learning about the impact of sexual violence, not just to the individual survivor, but also how to change the larger systems that continue to perpetuate oppression is essential to supporting survivors and understanding the impact of trauma. This week, you will learn what is meant by systems of oppression and privilege and how power and privilege are oppressive. You will learn what is meant by the term patriarchy, how to identify inequities within systems of oppression, and how social norms can perpetuate the cycle of sexual violence. Learning outcomes. Begin bulleted list with 4 items. Item 1 of 4, 2.1 Examine traditional constructs of masculinity. Item 2 of 4, 2.2 Describe how the role of power and privilege affect the practice of oppression. Item 3 of 4, 2.3 Explain how social norms interact with systems of oppression. Item 4 of 4, 2.4 Identify inequities within systems of oppression. Begin paragraph text. Oppression in all forms is among the root causes of sexual violence. Victims of sexual violence are impacted and influenced by many forms of oppression. Oppression can take the form of any of the following. Begin bulleted list with 7 items. Item 1 of 7, racism. Item 2 of 7, sexism. Item 3 of 7, classism. Item 4 of 7, heterosexism. Item 5 of 7, ageism. Item 6 of 7, ableism, and Item 7 of 7, many others. Begin paragraph text. In addition, forms of oppression can intersect, as shown in Figure 3.1, leading to even greater disadvantages and challenges. You'll learn more about the intersection of systems of oppression in Week 6, Other Vulnerable Groups. Begin image with description. In clockwise direction, the following words appear in concentric circles: racism, sexism, classism, heterosexism, ageism, ableism, and others. End image. Figure 3.1. This graphic shows how one or more forms of oppression can intersect, forming a complex union of oppression. U. Boston, 2017. Begin paragraph text. Select the card to flip it and reveal the definition. Begin heading Level 2, Intersect. Begin paragraph text. When multiple forms of oppression intersect, identity markers, for example, woman and black, coexist, do not exist independently of each other, and that each informs the others, often creating a complex union of oppression. U. Boston, 2017. Begin heading Level 2, Oppression and Sexual Violence. Begin paragraph text. Oppression is both the cause and effect of sexual violence. Sexual violence is tied to inequality, and those individuals or groups who commit sexual violence may target people who have less power. This can make it hard for an individual to report sexual assault, furthering their experiences of oppression and disempowerment. Begin heading Level 2, References. Begin paragraph text. Pennsylvania Coalition to Advance Respect, PCAR. 2022. Begin link, Oppression and AMP, Sexual Violence pcar.org. U. Boston. 2017, March 29. Begin link, What is intersectionality, and what does it have to do with me? www.boston.org. Begin paragraph text. Traditional constructs of masculinity encourage gender stereotypes in males, such as valuing the development of aggression, self-affirmation, social dominance, a lack of consideration for others, and restricted emotional expression. As children, we are exposed to imbalanced power relations, which take the form of either real or symbolic models. These models are internalized as you develop your worldview. To support a stable image of who you are, you tend to associate with gender stereotypes, as others do around you. In this way, the social norms for gender become embedded in your belief systems, which then control and guide your behavior. Melanda Vidal, et al., 2021. The Pennsylvania Coalition to Advance Respect, PCAR, 2022, notes that social norms can contribute to the occurrence of sexual violence and can be seen in various ways, such as the following. Begin bulleted list with 5 items. Item 1 of 5, condoning violence. Item 2 of 5, using power over others. Item 3 of 5, perpetuating traditional constructs of masculinity. Item 4 of 5, the suppression of women and other gender minorities. Item 5 of 5, staying silent about violence and abuse. Begin heading Level 2, Forms of Violence. Begin paragraph text. The above-mentioned traditional views of masculinity can perpetuate the following 7 forms of violence. Heilman et al., 2018. Begin paragraph text. Select each tab to learn more. Begin bulleted list with 7 items. Item 1 of 7, intimate partner violence, IPV. Item 2 of 7, physical violence against children, by parents or caregivers. Item 3 of 7, child sexual abuse and exploitation. Item 4 of 7, bullying. Item 5 of 7, homicide and other violent crimes. Item 6 of 7, non-partner sexual violence. Item 7 of 7, military dominance and or oppression during conflict or war. Begin paragraph text. Rigid norms regarding gender, gender roles, family, and marriage, together with men's childhood experiences of violence, contribute to men's use of violence against female partners. Heilman et al., 2018, p. 9. IPV will be more fully addressed in Week 4. Begin paragraph text. Physical violence is a means by which parents can monitor, and control, the gender performance and behavior of their children. Heilman et al., 2018, p. 10. Begin paragraph text. Child sexual abuse and exploitation are behaviors that resemble harmful masculine norms that are at least partly socially created and reinforced. Heilman et al., 2018, p. 10. Child sexual abuse will be explored in Week 5. Begin paragraph text. Bullying behaviors often share the following root causes: the bully's desire to demonstrate power and control over the victim and the use of bullying to enforce gender conformity. Heilman et al., 2018, p. 10. Begin paragraph text. Males are disproportionately represented as both victim and perpetrator, but research demonstrates that violent crime is not biologically driven. Instead, homicide and other violent crimes are a reflection of patterns driven by masculine norms, social dynamics, and life conditions. Heilman et al., 2018, p. 11. Begin paragraph text. Inequitable gender norms are among the top causal factors of sexual assault and can serve as a tool for males to prove their manhood, achieve the social status of a real man, and establish power over others. Heilman et al., 2018, p. 11. Begin paragraph text. Males are involved disproportionately in militaries and rebel and or terrorist groups. In addition, countries at war, militaries, and militant groups often exploit the gendered vulnerabilities of males to violent ends. Heilman et al., 2018, p. 12. Begin paragraph text. Make sure you read each tab section above before continuing. Begin heading Level 2, Does masculinity cause sexual violence? Begin paragraph text. Masculinity on its own does not cause sexual violence, but the way males are typically socialized to become men is clearly a factor that cannot be overlooked. Heilman et al., 2018, suggests that when considering the global rates of violence by men against women, violent crime, war and conflict, and violence against children, it would be easy to conclude that men are more naturally violent and that violence is inevitable. But their research review emphasizes that violence is preventable, gender equality is achievable, and non-violent norms and ideas about masculinity are gaining prevalence, which gives hope to the possibility of interrupting and redirecting traditional constructs of masculinity. Pause now to watch the first 10 minutes or so of this powerful TEDx talk video about the mask of masculinity. The video discusses how overcoming some of the negative stereotypes that surround masculinity is one of the biggest challenges men face today. Once you've watched the video, give some thought to the questions that follow. Begin heading Level 3, watch to 1044, The Mask of Masculinity, 1807. Begin heading Level 4, Self-Reflection Questions. Begin numbered list with 3 items. Item 1 of 3, do you view masculinity as a social construct? Why or why not? Item 2 of 3, do you see the social construct of masculinity as contributing to violence, especially against women, whose femininity is not valued within traditional society? Item 3 of 3, do you believe that embracing a more traditional feminine approach will help to encourage a more peaceful global society? Why or why not? Begin heading Level 2, References. Begin paragraph text, Heilman, B. and Barger, G. 2018. Begin link, Masculine Norms and Violence, Making the Connections, www.equimundo.org. Promundo US. Melanda Vidal, E., Samper Garcia, P., Yorkemester, A., Munoz Navarro, R., and Amp, Mester Escrivá, V. 2021. Begin link, Traditional Masculinity and Aggression in Adolescence, Its Relationship with Emotional Processes, DOI.org. International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, 1818, 9802. Merriam-Webster. ND. Begin link, Patriarchy, www.merriam-webster.com. In Merriam-Webster.com Dictionary. Saxena, S., Krug, for example, and Amp, Chesnov, C., eds. 2014. Begin link, Preventing Suicide, A Global Imperative iris.who.end. Geneva, World Health Organization. Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton, SOS, 2024. Begin link, Sexual Violence, Men, and Masculinity, An Introduction, www.sos.ca. TEDx Talks. 2016, June 16. Begin link, The Mask of Masculinity, The Traditional Role of Men is Evolving, Connor Beaton, www.youtube.com, video. YouTube. Begin paragraph text, test your understanding of what you've learned about systems of oppression and traditional constructs of masculinity and violence by answering the following questions correctly. Once you answer each question, feedback will be provided. Begin heading Level 2, Knowledge Check. Begin heading Level 2, Privilege. Begin paragraph text. Many forms of privilege can and do normalize and encourage violence and the practice of power and control over others. Examples of this are seen in everyday living. Being able-bodied and able-minded, having power and control over one's body and mind in ways society deems normal, and being wealthy, having financial power and control, are 2 typical examples. SOS, 2022. Begin paragraph text. For more information, select each card to flip it. Begin heading Level 2, Privilege. Begin paragraph text. Privilege is unearned access or advantages granted to specific groups of people because of their membership in a social group. United Way, 2021. Begin paragraph text. Privilege is often invisible to people who have it. Individuals in dominant groups often believe that they have earned the privileges that they enjoy or that everyone could have access to these privileges if only they worked to earn them. In fact, privileges are more typically unearned and granted to people in the dominant groups whether they want those privileges or not, and regardless of their intentions. Privilege operates on personal, interpersonal, cultural, and institutional levels and gives advantages, favors, and benefits to members of dominant groups at the expense of those who are marginalized. Begin paragraph text. For more information, select each card to flip it. Begin heading Level 2, Marginalized Groups. Begin paragraph text. Marginalized groups include women, differently abled, people of color, plus, indigenous peoples, people of a lower socioeconomic status, and so on. These groups have been historically disempowered and oppressed by influential and discriminatory groups. Culture ally, ND. Begin heading Level 2, Patriarchy. Begin paragraph text. Power and privilege in a society that celebrates the stereotypical traits of masculinity, and the system that privileges men over women. And begin link. Non-binary folk Ontario learn.desire2learn.com, is known as patriarchy. Patriarchy is a system that assumes men are more capable of, and/or more deserving of, having power and control in society. This privilege can harm and alienate females and non-binary people, and it can also damage males by assigning a social code for males to follow, particularly if they want to be accepted and have access to power, control, and privilege. More about this on the next page, in the section titled Social Norms. Begin paragraph text. For more information, select each card to flip it. Begin heading Level 2, Patriarchy. Begin paragraph text. Patriarchy is social organization marked by the supremacy of the father in the clan or family, the legal dependence of wives and children, and the reckoning of descent and inheritance in the male line. In broad terms, it is controlled by men of a disproportionately large share of power. Merriam-Webster, ND. Begin heading Level 3, Required reading. Begin paragraph text. One of your tasks this week is to read Begin link, 10 Ways to Be a Better Ally and Use Your Privilege for Power. www.linkedin.com, Carmo, 2021. Estimated reading time, 15 minutes. Begin heading Level 2, Think about it. Begin paragraph text. Consider one or both of the following scenarios to help to expand or deepen your level of understanding about power and privilege. Begin bulleted list with 2 items. Item 1 of 2, if you have privilege, by being white, male, and/or heterosexual, how might/does this privilege give you more influence, better access to services/employment, and more protective factors? How can recognizing your privileges enable you to practice in a more equitable manner knowing that others may not have the same privilege? Item 2 of 2, if you are a member of a marginalized group, such as BIPOC, plus, and/or female, what privileges do you have in other areas, ableism, gender identity, income status, secondary education, etc.? How might/does this other privilege give you influence, better access to services/employment, and more protective factors? Or does it? If you have one or many marginalized identities, how are you affected by inequity and oppression? Begin heading Level 2, References. Begin paragraph text. Culture ally, ND. Begin link. What does marginalized mean and why does it matter? www.culturally.com, Carmo, M. 2021. Begin link. 10 Ways to Be a Better Ally and Use Your Privilege for Power. www.linkedin.com. Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton, SACE. 2024. Begin link. Sexual Violence, Men, and Masculinity, an Introduction. www.sauce.ca. United Way for Southeastern Michigan. 2021. Begin link. What is privilege? UnitedWaySim.org. United Way. Begin paragraph text. In traditional society, males are expected to be strong, successful, powerful, dominating, fearless, in control, and emotionless. Women are continued to be viewed as objects and as having less value than men. This may sound like a dated perspective to you, but it is still the dominant view in most cultures, even if it is not always overtly expressed. This view of the world often allows violence against women, children, and other groups who are at the margins of society. It perpetuates a begin link, heterosexist OntarioLearn.desire2learn.com norm that devalues all those who are not begin link, gender binary OntarioLearn.desire2learn.com. Research conducted by the World Health Organization, 2021, demonstrates that males who adhere to rigid, traditional notions of masculinity are more likely to report having used violence against a partner. As noted previously, violence is about control and dominance and perpetuates oppressive interactions. Begin heading Level 2, Social Norms. Begin paragraph text. Social norms are informal rules that direct behavior in groups and societies. Bicchieri, 2023. Social norms are most typically seen as fulfilling certain important social functions and dictating social interactions. However, social norms often constrain behavior and are often designed, supported, and upheld by those in more powerful positions. In that way, social norms enable the status quo and in doing so, marginalize those groups who may not benefit from the rules. Begin paragraph text. For more information, select the card to flip it. Begin heading Level 3, Social Norms. Begin paragraph text. Social norms refer to values, beliefs, attitudes, and/or behaviors shared by a group of people. They are often based on what people believe to be normal, typical, or appropriate. National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, 2023. Begin paragraph text. The American Psychological Association, PAPAS, 2018, released guidelines showing that traditional masculinity is psychologically and physically harmful and that socializing males to suppress their emotions causes damage to both themselves and society. This research demonstrates that traditional masculinity, marked by stoicism, competitiveness, dominance, and aggression, is harmful. The more males conform to traditional masculine norms, the more likely they are to engage in risky health behaviors, such as heavy drinking, using tobacco, etc., and less likely to engage in healthy behaviors such as preventive health care, caretaking, and practicing empathy. Mahalik, 2007. These traditional gender norms are shown not only to shorten the life expectancy of males, but also to demonstrate how social norms interact and influence oppressive frameworks. Begin heading Level 2, The Path Forward. Begin paragraph text. A Call to Men, 2024. A United States-based national violence prevention organization providing training and education for men, boys, and communities, created a graphic, see Figure 3.2, to identify ways to promote a more healthy and respectful definition of manhood. Breaking the standard social norms that dictate traditional gender roles and expectations can help to prevent the perpetuation of violence and oppression at a personal, begin link, systemic OntarioLearn.desire2learn.com, and global level. Begin image with description, see the alternative text for a full description. End image. Figure 3.2. This graphic shows the 12 keys to practicing healthy manhood according to A Call to Men, 2024, a national violence prevention organization. Alternative text. Begin heading Level 3, Healthy Manhood is the Path Out of the Man Box. Begin paragraph text. The 12 keys to practicing healthy manhood are as follows. Begin numbered list with 12 items. Item 1 of 12, embracing and expressing a full range of emotion. Item 2 of 12, validating the feelings of other boys and men. Item 3 of 12, being willing to cry. Item 4 of 12, being vulnerable, allowing oneself and others to ask for, offer, and accept help. Item 5 of 12, valuing the lives of girls and women. Item 6 of 12, treating all people equally and promoting the betterment of humanity. Item 7 of 12, never using control or violence. Item 8 of 12, never using gender-based attributes to bully or discriminate. Item 9 of 12, never using language that denigrates women and girls. Item 10 of 12, having an interest in women and girls outside of sexual conquest. Item 11 of 12, Modeling healthy manhood for other men and boys. Item 12 of 12, using your influence and platforms to promote its practice. Begin heading Level 2, References. Begin paragraph text, A Call to Men. 2024. Begin link, Healthy Manhood www.acalltomen.org. Bicchieri, C., Muldoon, R., and Amp, Sanchuoso, A., 2023. Begin link, Social Norms Plato.stanford.edu. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Seg, Division of Cancer Epidemiology and Amp, Genetics, Staff. 2022, April 1st. Begin link, Beyond the Gender Binary Seg.cancer.gov International Cancer Institute. Mahalik, J., R., Burns, S., M., and Amp, Sysdec, M., 2007. Begin link, Masculinity and Perceived Normative Health Behaviors as Predictors of Men's Health Behaviors DOI.org. Social Science and Amp, Medicine, 1982, 6411, 2201-2209. Merriam-Webster. ND. Begin link, Systemic www.merriam-webster.com. In Merriam-Webster.com Dictionary. Pappas, S., 2018, January 1st. Begin link, APA Issues First Ever Guidelines for Practice with Men and Boys www.apa.org. Monitor on Psychology, 51. Wikipedia Contributors. 2024, February 24th. Begin link, Heterosexism.wikipedia.org. In Wikipedia, the Free Encyclopedia. World Health Organization. 2021, March 9th. Begin link, Violence Against Women www.who.int. Begin paragraph text, test your understanding of what you learned about the role of power, privilege, and social norms by answering the following questions correctly. Once you answer each question, feedback will be provided. Begin heading Level 2, Knowledge Check. Begin paragraph text. When we identify where our privilege intersects with somebody else's oppression, we'll find our opportunities to make real change. Ijoma Oluo, Nigerian-American author of You Want to Talk About Race. Begin paragraph text. As previously mentioned, sexual violence is about power and control which perpetuates inequities and oppression. Certain groups of people experience sexual violence at higher rates, as some of you may know firsthand. Risk factors for oppression, and ultimately inequity, include racism, classism, sexism, homophobia. Begin link, transphobia OntarioLearn.DesireToLearn.com, ableism, and more, National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 2019. Many risk factors such as poverty, lack of employment opportunities, and racism within the police and judicial systems are also linked to oppression, Solomon et al., 2019. Oppression limits some individuals' equitable access to a variety of protective factors, from as involvement with social activities, like sports, clubs, and after-school activities, to exposure to structured school environments, Toomey et al., 2013. Protective factors are disproportionately available to those with increased social privilege, which perpetuates the cycle of inequities within all systems. Begin paragraph text. For more information, select the card to flip it. Begin heading Level 3, Social Privilege. Begin paragraph text. Social privilege is an advantage or entitlement that benefits individuals belonging to certain groups, often to the detriment of others. Wikipedia 2, 2024. Begin paragraph text. As you have seen, it is not identity in and of itself that causes risk, but rather the way in which systems shape different groups' experiences in inequitable ways. We all have multiple identities, but an individual who has a marginalized identity or several marginalized identities faces increased inequities as those identities intersect with each other. Culture Ally, ND. Begin heading Level 2, Marginalized Groups. Begin paragraph text. Marginalized groups, such as BIPOC, 2SLGTQ+, and those who are differently abled, move through the world knowing that their needs are on the margins. The privilege of being the dominant or powerful group, not the largest in numbers but instead the groups who hold the most financial, political, and social power, etc., is often not noticed by that privileged group. For example, heterosexuals, males, and whites are more likely to navigate their world with an expectation that their needs will be readily met. Whether that is at the grocery store, within a political party, or in a court of law, having the dominant group privilege is often taken for granted or not recognized by those within those groups. This does not mean that all white people or all heterosexuals, for example, have the same privileges. But it does mean that they have the privilege of identifying with that dominant, more powerful group, which opens doors that are more typically closed for those on the margins of society. Privilege can be a difficult concept to understand, especially if you have privilege. Recognizing your privilege means recognizing where these gaps exist and why marginalized groups continue to experience inequity and oppression. Begin heading Level 3, think about it. Begin paragraph text. Even use of the term victim can support the hierarchy and oppressive practice of the perpetrator toward the person who has been harmed. Begin heading Level 2, dismantling systems of oppression. Begin paragraph text. Watch the video below, in which Noelle Nachula talks about creating a more equitable future through the collective dismantling of systems of oppression and recognizing one's privilege to create an ideal society. TEDx Talks, 2023. Begin heading Level 3, watch, Dismantling Systems of Oppression with Noelle Nachula, 857. Begin paragraph text. Can you now see the relationship between sexual violence and systems of inequity and oppression? Prevention work is important in not just reaching the most vulnerable individuals who are impacted, but also to change the larger systems that continue to perpetuate oppression. Begin heading Level 2, References. Begin paragraph text. Culture Ally, ND. Begin link. What does marginalized mean and why does it matter? www.culturally.com National Sexual Violence Resource Center. 2019. Begin link. Risk and protective factors www.nsvrc.org, infographic. Solomon, D., Maxwell, C., and Amp, Castro, A., 2019. Begin link. Systematic Inequality and Economic Opportunity www.americanprogress.org. Center for American Progress. TEDx Talks. 2023, May 5th. Begin link. Dismantling Systems of Oppression, Noelle Nachula www.youtube.com, video. YouTube. Toomey, R.B., and Amp, Russell, S.T., 2013. Begin link. An Initial Investigation of Sexual Minority Youth Involvement in School-Based Extracurricular Activities DOI.org. Journal of Research on Adolescence, 23-2, 304-318. United Way for Southeastern Michigan. 2021. Begin link. What is privilege? UnitedWaySim.org. United Way. Wikipedia 1 Contributors. 2024, February 16th. Begin link. Transphobia in.wikipedia.org. In Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Wikipedia 2 Contributors. 2024, January 24th. Begin link. Social privilege in.wikipedia.org. In Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Begin paragraph text. Exploitation is the deliberate manipulation or abuse of power to have control over another individual, usually for some form of gain, such as personal, financial, or sexual. It can involve being forced or coerced into doing something that an individual does not want to do for someone else's gain. Sexual exploitation, 2024. Sexual exploitation occurs when an individual or group abuses another individual's sexuality without their consent or respect for their well-being. Exploitation and oppression describe unjust social arrangements where perpetrators typically hold power over their victims, due to age, gender, sexual identity, physical strength, or status. Individuals can be sexually exploited in many ways. Sexual exploitation, 2024, including the following. Begin bulleted list with 5 items. Item 1 of 5, sexual assault. Item 2 of 5, being tricked or manipulated into having sex or performing a sexual act. Item 3 of 5, being trafficked for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Item 4 of 5, being forced to take part in or watch pornography, and Item 5 of 5, being victim of revenge porn, when a previously taken video or photograph, which was taken with or without consent, is shared online. Begin heading Level 2, Sex Trafficking. Begin paragraph text. In any discussion of sexual exploitation and oppression, it would be a mistake not to include sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is a form of both exploitation and sexual violence. At a broad level, sex trafficking is human trafficking, but human trafficking isn't limited to sex trafficking. However, sex trafficking victims are the largest percentage of the human trafficking industry at approximately 72%, deliverfund.org, 2023. All forms of human trafficking are oppressive, including sex trafficking. Trafficking is considered a form of modern slavery that forces victims to do things outside of their will and consent. Begin paragraph text. For more information, select the card to flip it. Begin heading Level 3, Sex Trafficking. Begin paragraph text. Sex trafficking is a form of human trafficking that involves recruiting, moving, or holding victims for sexual exploitation purposes. Public Safety Canada, 2023. Begin heading Level 2, References. Begin paragraph text. Deliver Fund. 2023. Begin link. What is the difference between human trafficking and sex trafficking? Deliverfund.org. Deliverfund.org. Public Safety Canada, 2023. Begin link. Sex trafficking. www.canada.ca. Government of Canada. Torbay and Devon Safeguarding Adults Partnership, 2024. Begin link. Sexual exploitation. www.devonsafeguardingadultspartnership.org.uk. Begin paragraph text. This week, you learned about systems of oppression within the context of sexual violence. You peeled back the layers that exist within traditional constructs of masculinity and social norms. This provided you with an increased understanding of how society can and does encourage sexual violence. Additionally, you explored how the hierarchy of power and privilege can contribute to, and direct, inequities and exploitation through beliefs about superiority, particularly towards marginalized groups. Begin heading Level 3, next week. Begin paragraph text. Your awareness of injustice and oppression will help to guide you into the next week, where you will explore the impact of sexual violence.